And hello everyone, we are bang on 10 o'clock here for our second call in our series of 6. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Today's call is about invisible systems that increase focus. This module is about clearing the visible clutter and distractions so that you can think and focus on what you need to do. When you do this, of course, you get faster and more accurate at what you're doing. This module is also about enabling workflow, setting up what you need so that you are ready for Module 3 and ready to move work onto its next logical step. So this is, I've got quite a few questions from you guys that came through, so thank you very much. And we're going to go through each of these questions. As you can see, I've prepared a little bit today. I've got a little bit of a PowerPoint so that I don't actually have to type as I go. So I'm hoping that's going to be a little less distracting. All right, so let's get into it. So the first thing I'm going to go through today are the questions that came through the survey. And then if I get any questions typed in, I'll answer those questions. So type them in as we go, people. You don't have to wait for me to ask you. Just type them in as we go, and I will go through them at the very end, all right? All righty. So the first question was, how do I balance distractions? So I assumed by this question that what the person was asking is, how do I do the things that come up, but not at the expense of what's important? So how do I do some of that stuff, but also get to what I'm supposed to be doing, what I plan to do? Which is a great question. And we're going to be covering this further and in more depth in Module 3 and 4. But in relation to this module, the way to do this is to capture the thought that creeps up to distract you. Put it in a place you don't lose it. So again, if it's more than 15 minutes, it's going to be in your calendar. If it's less than 15 minutes, it's going to be in your taskbar. And of course, if it's more than 30 minutes, block out the time it's actually going to take you. That goes without saying. But it's amazing. I coach lots of companies, lots of people I work with keep me on board and get me to coach their people, particularly with the planning, so that they actually make the planning a habit, because the planning is the key, and that is Module 4. But what I tend to see all the time is people putting in a half an hour for work that's going to take them all day. And then they've got several things for half an hour in their day. And I was just actually emailing a person yesterday back who I'm coaching at the moment as part of a company coach, and her calendar was full of half an hour blocks, and I said to her, I'm sure that this work does not take a half an hour, which it didn't. She came back, no, it doesn't. It's memory jogs, but that's not good enough. You've got to reflect how long the actual appointment is for. So if it's for an hour, put in for an hour. If it's for half a day, put in for half a day. Otherwise, you're just trying to rob Peter to pay Paul. It won't work. You're going to be in the same mess as always. So capture the distraction if it's a mental distraction that's come up to distract you. And of course, when do these things tend to do that? When we're trying to concentrate. It's amazing, isn't it? So yes, capture it. If the distraction is visual or mental, whichever way it comes in, and it's less than 2 minutes, just get it done, get it finished and get it out of the way. If you are going to do the task, ask yourself before you do, does it really need to be done this second? And if not, then capture it. And do it as soon as you finish working whatever you're working on. Also ask yourself before you actually go forward and do it, will this task actually be of value to me now or in the future? This is a very important question. I'm going to be repeating this question over and over again. The second question that's really important is, do I need to do it? Do I need to be doing it, or could I delegate it and delegate it immediately? You could do everything that comes your way, but for everything that you do, what are you not doing? That's the question, really. What are you not getting to because you're not delegating? Because you think, oh, this will only take me 2 seconds, I'll do it. Give it to somebody else if it's not supposed to sit with you. Move it to the right person. Invisible systems give you a way of eliminating the visual and mental distractions. That's what the system is for, to put everything in its place so it's not for, and then marry it up with your calendar and taskbar so you don't forget about it. Okay, but to put it out of the way so you can focus on what you need to get done. That's what the whole point of this system is. As I say, a clear desk is a clear mind. Well, I'm actually not too sure if that's what they do say, but that's what I say anyway. If you've got a clear desk, then you're able to think, you're able to go forward in a planned and proactive manner. When you've got everything sitting everywhere, it can feel very overwhelming. And it can also stop you from being able to think, all right? So a place for everything in its place. The next question was, and I got a few questions around this particular one, but they're all basically along the same lines. And they are, do you have simple and effective tips for coping with interruptions other than what was brought up in the training? So in the training, just to go through those again, these are the tips I gave you in this particular module. To batch, to get people to batch their questions, hold off asking you things until they have a few and then come and ask you all of them at once rather than every single one individually. Oh, by the way, with distractions, for the last question, I should have answered this as well. Get your alerts off. Take your alerts off your emails so you don't actually see them, the envelope fading in and out in the right-hand corner. That's part of Outlook. And Gmail also has a way of taking off the notifications. Do that immediately. And in our next lesson, which is just around the corner, by the way, I'll be showing you how to do that in the videos. So it's coming up. I might actually even show you in this one if we have some time, all right? So I'll make a note for myself about that. Switch off alerts. All right. The other things that I told you about was to become inaccessible for 60 to 90 minutes once or twice a day so that you can focus on what you need to do. And if you have trouble with this because you interrupt yourself, you might want to also make sure that technology is inaccessible to you as well, so that you don't end up on Facebook or doing your emails or texting on your mobile. So really isolate yourself. If you distract yourself, get those technologies away from you, work offline, and I'll show you how to do that too, how to switch it to offline in the Outlook environment anyway. Try to be inaccessible at the same time every day so people get used to your routine. And you get used to your routine. Your whole body starts to get into the habit of becoming urgent for that time. So you know that at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock is when you start your most important work, and you really clear. It's like almost going on holidays. You clear out everything so that you know that you can you can focus during that time. So try to make it a habit. The more habits you have, the more it becomes a routine in the way that you work, rather than something that you have to force yourself to do. And of course, aim to have this sacred time or this uninterrupted time at a time when you are least interrupted. So you've got to work with yourself and your environment. You don't want to try and take it when it's the busiest time of the day, of course, that you're setting yourself up for failure. Do it when you are least interrupted and when you have your most energy to focus. Usually if you just get started, you can find the energy if you're into what you're doing. But just getting started is really the main point. And then you'll find that energy. Becoming inaccessible helps you get the most out of your people. They can take ownership of their own workload a lot faster and more confidently when they don't have to rely on you to check everything, to ask you, am I doing it right? I'll just check, Stop that from happening by becoming a little bit inaccessible and getting people to try and work it out for themselves. That way they start to rely on themselves more. Make it easy for them with responses, set up manuals or websites, but don't just tell them the answers. Give them questions so they can look it up. Give them a test like we did at school. Do one question every meeting and get them to start using the tools that you have made available to them more and more so that they gain more confidence. So rather than at a meeting going through the latest information, ask them, what is the latest information? I've sent it to you through email. Turn the tables a little bit. Rather than just downloading, get some stuff coming up. Okay, this meeting is about this. Tell me this is the questions I want you to research before we get to the meeting. Just makes it a bit more engaging rather than just feeding. When we're feeding them stuff, it means that we have to rely on memory, which means that we don't use our resources, which means we ask, which means we have interruptions. All right, I've laboured that point enough. Let me go on. Here are some other tips to help with managing interruptions. And I've got quite a few, by the way, so I hope you've got some pen and paper. Right, when you delegate, what you want to do is you want to check in with your person the next day or even later that day to find out how they're going, if they've got any questions. This way you are managing their interruptions and they have access to you, and you can make sure that they are on track. They're not too far away from the path that you want them to take, so that you don't have to take it over and basically then redo it. So when you actually give somebody something to work on, you say, all right, I've given you this, have a look at it this afternoon. I'm going to catch up with you and I'm going to find out if you've got any questions and what's your understanding of this job. Again, I'm asking for engagement, aren't I? And then the next day, then after that meeting, you say, great, sounds like you've got it. In 2 days from here or tomorrow, let's catch up again and I'll go through your questions. Of course, you're going to catch up more frequently with them, the less experience they have with the work that you have given them. If they don't do it, this is of course a different subject altogether, call them on it. Ask them why not, what's actually happening. And it may be that you need to take more involvement with actually what is on their plate. And that's again in Module 4. Oh my God, the good stuff to come, huh? All right. When people interrupt you, stand up and ask them immediately how you can help them. Hi, how are you? What's up? What can I do help you with? When you've answered their question, ask if it's been of value. Has that helped? All right, thanks for coming by. Appreciate it. So that they know it's finished. They can go now. So that's one way of being really helpful, but keeping it short and sweet. Update your voice message and your signature block to show that you are not always at your desk, but that you do answer your emails and return your calls 3 times a day. If you put this, you actually have to do it, of course, so that people then aren't wondering when they're going to hear from you. If you're going to be out longer than, like if you're not going to respond, just say you're in a training, you're in a conference all day, that's when you set up your out of office. And you can set up out of office even if you have Google or use some other remote form of email inbox, iNet or whoever your service provider is. You can still set up out of office. And what I suggest you do is just Google how to set up out of office for whatever your service provider is. So how to set up out of office for Gmail or Google or iNet, whatever it might be. Okay? If you need some help with that, send me who your provider is and I'll find it for you so you get an idea of what I'm talking about. And you want to look on YouTube for this information too. I find I do a lot of stuff with YouTube, so let me tell you some of the things I do. How to put makeup on, how to do my child's hair, how to make fancy birthday cakes, So I get YouTube for almost everything. If I don't know, if my husband asks me a question, I always say to him, why don't you check YouTube? In fact, the other day, I was at the pools with my kids, and then I had my laptop, and this gentleman asked me, oh, are you using Word? He was about 70, 80 odd. He said, oh, are you using Word, are you? How is it easy to use? And I said, look, if you've got any problems, just go onto YouTube and Google and search for how to use Word for beginners. So YouTube is your friend. Use it. All right, next one. Coach people when you are open for calls. So what I mean about this is don't let them interrupt you. Tell them when you're going to be free. So what you might want to say is, look, I'm currently working on something. I'll be available again in an hour. Can your matter wait? If they say yes, that's great. I'll see you then. Just keep it short so you can get back to what you're doing. You might want to try and get on the front foot, though, and actually say to them, look, this is when I'm really working on things of importance. If your matter can wait until I'm finished, please have it wait. If it cannot, then come and interrupt me. You will still get interruptions, but it'll be, 2 out of 10 instead of 10 out of 10. Give realistic delivery times. A lot of the times we're interrupted because people are following up on things with us. Oh my God. Because we said we were going to deliver it in a certain amount of time and we haven't. So they're following up. So the only way to give realistic deadlines is by planning and planning well. Again, module 4, my goodness me. But always give yourself some room. Always ask the person, when do they want it by? I fall into this trap so often. I think I go and see a client and they ask me to write a proposal, and my instinct is to say, all right, I'll have it to you later today or tomorrow, for example. But then I'm about to say that, and then I catch myself and I say, when do you need it by? And I swear it would be maybe at least, look, I would say 100%, no, 90%, couldn't care less when I get it back to them, in all honesty. At least, as long as it's a reasonable time frame. But I reckon at least 50% would say to me, oh, I'm not here next week, so there's no point in getting it to me tomorrow or the next day. Get it to me the week after. So ask them when they need it by, and you'll be surprised, because we're killing ourselves trying to get everything to people instantly. Respond to emails 3 times a day so people get used to the fact that you respond. I've already talked about that one. You don't have to help and answer everybody's email. Just because it lands in your inbox doesn't mean that it's your work. Sometimes people ask without doing much legwork. So if there's a lot of research or a bit more research that they could be doing, just guide them rather than doing it for them. If it's going to take you a long time and the person could be doing it themselves, tell them to just give it a go, or to come and see you with a few other questions later that day. You've got to assess the priority. You've got to start letting people think. So stop before you leap in to help. Take a moment to think, how much work does this involve? And sometimes I know you don't know. So just encourage your people always. Try and get on the front foot to, give it a go, and then come to you to see if it's okay before they actually ask too many questions. Make sure though you're checking in with them as in a planned and proactive manner. So if you're checking in with your people, say daily, then it's okay for them to run with things, because every day you're checking in with them. Do you understand what I'm saying? If you don't, please let me know. Yep. Okay. All right. Understood. Again, for those who listen to this later, if you're not clear, don't hesitate to actually email me and discuss it, all right? All right. So where are we up to? Yeah. Always stop and assess the priority. Do you need to help them? If you're going to help them, then determine, does it need to be done now or later? And if so, when are you going to do it? Meet with your people more regularly. Oh gosh, I've already said this one. I've just said it just a second ago. So that they've got opportunities to speak with you and to ask you questions after you meet. Tell them that you're going to be unavailable for 90 minutes or so because you're working on whatever it is that you're working on. So when I used to work in the government, I had a massive team of about, this is all direct reports, by the way, of about 32 people. 48 people around there. It used to chop and change, but it went between that. So I would go around as soon as I got in, because I always started later, because I always finished later. So as soon as I got in, I would go around and I would check in with every one of my key people and groups of my not so key people and find out what's happened, anything they need to speak to me about. You know, it didn't take me that long. And as I went through, I would be saying to them, look, at between 10 and 11, I'm going to be locking myself away. This is where I'm going to be if you need me. But if you can wait until I'm back, please wait. Everybody knew what the deal was. So they had time with me, and it was regular. They knew they could wait till the morning to speak to me. So always try to get on the front foot. But again, many of us don't think about how we would prefer to work. So I'm giving you some ways and some words to use to help communicate and coach people onto how you want to work. And I know I might be actually speaking too much about when you've got staff, but quite a few of you have got staff, so I'm sure this is helpful even if you don't. Next one, don't ask quick questions yourself. Minimize the amount of times you interrupt others as well as, and then get them to do the same, all right? So it's do as we want others to do unto us, isn't it? That's how it goes, something like this. Plan your week so that you can assess what has come up against what you have planned to do. And then you can decide what's more important. All right? Again, I want you to get in the process of planning, and we're going to be doing a bit more of that in the next module, and then we're going to really look at planning on module 4. But without a plan to compare the interruption to, so your interruption has come up, and if you don't have a plan, if you're just doing whatever shows up, if you've got a to-do list, then you're always going to allow whatever shows up. When you plan, this is actually prioritization, by the way, people. When you plan, you have an opportunity to assess what has what come up, has what come up, is it more of a priority than what I'm currently doing or planning to do next? Right? That's prioritization. What is more important? What is more urgent? But without the plan, there's nothing to compare to. So what you're unconsciously doing is not doing your work. There's no decision to make. Hoping this is helping. It all builds on to the next module and the next module. So planning is crucial because it gives you a chance to compare what has come up against what you plan to do and to decide what is more urgent and what is more important. All right. Next one. Lastly, if you're serious about addressing interruptions, you might want to keep an interruption log. And it looks like this, okay? Person, date and time, description. Was it a valid interruption? Was it really urgent or not? Did it have to be done then? You keep the log every day for about a week and you record every interruption you experience. You know, marking down who actually was the person interrupting you, when it occurred, etc., whether it was valid. Once you've recorded the interruptions for a week, you sit down with that log and you analyze the information. What interruptions were valid and what weren't? You know, are you just knee-jerk reaction to these interruptions? Once you've actually done that, then you can see some themes. You know, were there common themes? Like there's a training need that's come to the surface. People are asking you the same question. People are just interrupting for no reason. there's a frequently asked question that isn't documented somewhere that you need to get into your system. So once you've done the actual magic of the log is actually the interpretation and the analysis of the log. So what I'll do, I should say, is I'll create a little instruction around the interruptions log, how to use it, and it's yours to use, okay? So here's another template for you to use and benefit from. Alrighty. Next question was, okay, great, and I can see some questions being typed in. That's wonderful. All right, so how to effectively manage discussions and interruptions in a small open plan office. You know, the main point is that you take them out of the area. I mean, this is what meeting rooms and coffee shops are all about, so you can talk freely without disturbing others. It's very simple. There are lots of people that, in fact, 90% of us can't concentrate if we can hear other people talking. Part of our concentration moves over to that conversation. So take it out of the area. If it's going to be a long conversation, of course, if it's a quick one, it's a different story. But that's really the answers to that one. It's nice and simple. Okay. So what I would like to talk about now is how did you go with simplifying your visible system? How did you go with that information, which was the first part of the second module? Who had any luck with this, or any questions that you want to ask? Any comments you want to make? All right, so I can see that. Great, you've done it and found it much easier to find information. That's fantastic. All right, I'm just reading some of the comments here. Found lots of things I had not looked at in years. Yes, that's bound to happen. Sometimes I search for something, like I'm looking for something and I search for it, and all these other documents come up that I've totally forgotten about. So yes, it's probably a wise move to actually search before you even create something new, because there's a statistic that says we refer back to 2% of what we keep. So God knows what we've got hidden in there, huh? All right, some other comments. The ideas to work out what to set up were great. Okay, yes, I know what you're talking about. That's the document I said I included. Yep. Okay, so it's thanks. Amazing how you don't think of the obvious. Yes, it is. And it's amazing even after I create that document how more ideas come to me. It's like I don't think I know I did include financials, but it was funny. It's amazing how other ideas come to you. Things that you just do, but you don't account for, but you've got to do as part of business. A little bit scary, actually. Another comment is found... made my filing system so much easier to use. There were heaps of folders with only one document, and I got rid of these and simplified. Wonderful. Excellent. That's what we want to do. We want to keep it simple. Kiss it. Yes. If you don't know where to start with your invisible system, this is me now. This isn't a comment, by the way. If you don't know where to start and you want to discuss your visible system further, contact my admin team and they'll tell you how to get some one-to-one time with me, okay? This can be a big job. It can be a big job, meaning a day's work, for example. So sometimes it's much easier to do with somebody who's never worked in your business, because the whole point is you want somebody who's never worked in your business to be able to step in and find whatever you're looking for. So you need to make it very intuitive, very common sense, you know, and there's going to be commonalities for your filing system, but there's also going to be things that are unique to your business. So sometimes it's great to have a sounding board and to have someone working through it with you. All right, just in case you don't know what I'm talking about when I say the document that I put together for you to refer to. I'll show it to you right now. So it looked like this, and it went through some main categories that you might have and some others that are very common to organisations. All right, let's get back to the PowerPoint. And I've included mine. This is mine for my time equals money. It's nice and easy, nice and simple. Things that are similar are grouped together. And I have customized programs out on its own instead of in workshops, and same with invoices instead of into admin, because I'm going to those particular ones all the time. So because I'm going to them all the time, I just want to have it one step rather than having to have to go into admin and then drill down into invoices, or or workshops and then into quotes, or marketing and then let me start that again. Workshops and then into customized programs, or marketing and then into quotes. So that's the way it's easy for me. It's one step, but as you can see, it's very simple, and I've grouped them into the main headings because I don't go to them all that often, so I don't have to have them all visible and then make it hard for me to get to the ones that I actually use the most. So I hope this is of value to you. Quick drink of water there. All right, moving along. Oh, and before we do, while I'm here, I just want to say you don't have to be shy to change the title of your documents or your folders or your emails to make finding them easier and more intuitive. As I said, try not to use jargon. Try using words that are, common language. Keep the language simple, keep it common sense, so that anyone off the street could come in and find what they need for you, or what they need, especially if a new person comes into your business. You want them to be able to get in and get working very quickly. Recently I've been working with a manufacturer, and finding the documents in their system, oh my God, it was even really hard to remember what they were called, because the actual name of the document was so convoluted and just not intuitive. It really took a while for me to get used to what documents were for what. So it's very interesting, and finding anything was diabolical. It was really hard. So that's not what you want. You want it to keep it really simple, okay? On this note, just while I'm here, I just might show you how to rename a folder, just so you can see how it's done, and I'll also show you how to rename an email. So give me a second and I'll hop over to Outlook. So I'm just going to stop sharing my screen for a second. So just say you want to rename a folder. You create a new folder. This may be very basic for many of you, but let me just go through it. Most of us know how to create a folder. It's nice and easy. To rename the actual folder, we just right-click on the folder and we rename it to whatever we want to call it. Nice and easy, yes? Let me go to my inbox now and I'll show you how to rename an email. So just say you get an email and you want to keep it, but you want to make it easy for you to search for that email. So all you do is click on the subject, and you can rename it, for example, P, which is the name of the program, to information about filing. And when you close it, the name of the actual email has been changed. Is that cool? Yeah, it's very cool. It's very easy. And documents, you change documents in exactly the same way that you change folders, just by right-clicking on the actual document and renaming it. Alrighty. Let's head back to our slideshow. So, I've showed you the document. Yes, I want to do that. All right, so while here, yep, I've done that. Okay, a big tip. Before you change anything to your visible system, your system for content, you want to take a screenshot. You know, just hit the print screen button and paste it into a document. You want to do that before you start, so just in case you get all muddled up, all right, or just in case you start today, but then you have to stop and you finish it in, you know, at the end of the week, but you can't remember where you were at. So just take that screen dump so that you've got it handy. It'll be really worth it, okay? So make sure you do that. Okay, so I've finished the questions that came through on the survey. Most of them were around interruptions. Let me take some of the questions now that are on the actual panel here. Okay, so the first question is, how do you know what to set up for the invisible system, the paper side? All right, so we've moved nicely onto the invisible system. So what I might need to do now is add some actual slides, huh? So the question was, how do you know what to set up for the invisible system? Okay, now if I don't know whether this is the paper side or the not paper side, but if it is the paper side, set up everything. All right, that's my advice. Everything that I suggest for you to set up, set up. Test it, see if you use everything, and if you don't, then all you've got to do is lift out a hanging folder and it's done. But best to set up everything rather than not set up anything at all. With regards to the electronic side, let me show you the actual, should have switched off my notifications on Skype there, my apologies, sorry. Let me show you what the invisible system is in the electronic, in your inbox. Okay, so let me go to the inbox now. So you may have a reference folder set up. See my 0 reference here? Then you might set up a folder for meetings, especially if you're not using Outlook, because in Outlook you can insert an email into a meeting, but you can't do that in Gmail. All right? So you might have a folder for the different meetings that you go to, and that way you can file the emails that you want to raise into those particular folders. That way when you come time for the meeting, you've got everything that you want to raise in one place for you to review and then to raise at the meeting. Okay, so that's 2. Speak to. You might also have you might have the names of people that you speak to on a regular basis here, but you might also just insert the actual email that you want to speak to somebody about into the meeting with the person. So it might be meeting with Janice, for example, and you can then insert the Outlook item that you want to speak to her about into that appointment. Now don't panic, I am going to be showing you this in the next module, but just so you know that most people, if they're going to meet with somebody, they usually have an appointment to do that. If you don't, then what I suggest that you do is just have a folder with Janice's name or the person's name here, so you can collect everything that you want to speak to them about in one place for you to go through together. But so that might help you there. Remember to do. There is nothing to set up for the remember to do because it's already set up. It's actually in your calendar. Okay, so Nothing to set up there. For the future, you might want to set up a for the future folder so that you can park all the work that's coming to you that you're not going to do now, all right? Low priority work. You can call it low priority, you can call it work for the future, whatever you might want to call it, but it's just a place to park that rather than leaving it in your inbox. As you can see in my inbox, there's only emails that I haven't read yet. Personal. Most people have got a personal folder tucked away in their inbox somewhere. You might have other folders here to batch work that is similar for you to be able to do it all in one hit. So for example, I've got documents relating to jobs on the go. So rather than maybe filing this work into a folder in my C drive, I just leave it there because I know it's just short term, just small things that I want to keep in mind, but I don't want to file it in amongst everything else. So there may be other things that you have that come up, you know, that you might want to create a folder for. For example, receipts. You might want to have one for receipts. You might want to have one for waiting for information, but really your waiting for information is your taskbar. So let me show you my taskbar. So I've only got one here. It's called, oh, sorry, I can't quite see the other ones. There we go, just a couple. So you might want to move the email that you're waiting somebody to, or put the note that you're waiting for somebody to call you back here. So have I heard from Janice? I'm picking on Janice today. Have it regarding XYZ. I'll put it for tomorrow. So I've emailed Janice and I'm expecting her to get back to me. I don't want to forget. I want to make sure that she does get back to me, but I don't want to remember in the middle of the night either. I want to get my system to do that for me. So there you go. It's all there waiting for me, okay? So that's basically the invisible system in the electronic environment. If you weren't sure, that's how it is. I'll just zip through it again. So you might have a reference, or you should have a reference folder. You should have a for the future folder. I have a filing folder, just a general filing that doesn't relate to anything, but I just want to keep it. You might have a folder for the different people that you speak to, and you might have a folder for the different meetings that you go to. And the purpose of those folders is to catch information that you want to raise at those meetings with those people. Okay? There is nothing to set up for your remember to do. It's already there. And there's nothing to set up for your waiting on information. It's already there as well. All right. Excellent. So let's move along. Once you have done the setting up, take a before and after picture. And I want you to put this into your Dropbox folder, okay, people? So make sure whatever you've done before you start, you take a photo, and after you finish, you take a photo and put these into Dropbox. All right, the next question is, take a picture of what? All right. And that was asked before I just said what I said, but let me just clarify. So you might want to take a photo, for example, of your new visible system, your new directory, or you could take a photo of the invisible system that you've set up in your deep drawer. So you might take a before photo and then what you've actually set up. What I want to see is that there was a before and that there is an after. Basically, that's all I want to see, that you are taking action. That's all I want to see. Next week's module is about bringing this system to life. But at this point, we're just setting up. We're just getting ready to play the game, you know. It's like when you're cutting all your vegetables and getting out all your ingredients to actually make something. You haven't actually made it yet. You're not in the process of making it. You're just preparing. That's what we're doing, right? Once you have done this, you have done accountability too. For those of you who have already done it, and I know a couple of you already have, well done. But more importantly, I'm very pleased that you have taken action. You now have your workflow structure in place and you're ready to sift through what you have in your work area and get it into order. You don't have to do the sifting this week, okay? This is the subject of our next lesson, all right? So don't panic if your office is a mess. The solution is almost at hand. Let me just get back to my PowerPoint here. Didn't really need this, did I? Slideshow from current slide. All right, so by the end of this module, what you'll have got in place is your workflow system, right? It's a structure. You are ready to sift through and get everything in order, all right? So let's summarize this particular call, this particular module. Take a picture or a screenshot before you start. Review your visible system. Review your visible system, the content. Is it easy to find information? Is it easy to file information? If not, it needs to be simplified. So review it, take out what's not necessary, chunk up, right? Make the words common sense words, common language words, so that people can easily find the information. Draw it up on paper first, what you're going to set up, and then set it up. Make sure you take your screenshot before you start. All right, set up your invisible system, the workflow system. What is additional that you need to include that I haven't given you? Remember, it'll be routine stuff that's coming at you in numbers, you know, so you might get 4 of them a week or 6 of them a week or 50 of them a week that you need to process. So rather than doing them one at a time, create a folder, put them all in there, and then you'll marry that up with an appointment so that you can actually get that work done. Remember, the main theme of this lesson is a place for everything and everything in its place. Things that are similar, you group together, all right? Once you're done, take a picture or a screenshot of what you have done. Take a picture, screenshot once you're done. Yes, good. That reads well. All right. If you are game, share it on Facebook. You know, go right ahead, because it's inspiration for others. I said this last time. If you've thought of other invisible or visible homes that were useful, post these too. You know, email them to me and I'll post them for you. Sharing inspires others. Share your goals. Share what's been useful, whatever is of benefit to you. All right. So get the conversation happening. If you're not on Facebook, if you don't want to be on Facebook, that's okay. You don't have to. I know we've all got enough to do, right? You don't need anything else. This is just useful if you like being part of that community. And also it's useful to get other ideas, right? Next week is about the sifting process. We're on to Module 3. Our call is set for Friday at 10 a.m. There will be a survey and a link sent out to you next week, probably early next week. So have a great week, all right? Leaving thoughts. Keep it simple. Take action. Keep moving forward. Do 30 minutes a day and you will get to the end of this module and the end of this program. Ask questions to get your needs addressed, okay? So if you still have questions, if you're listening to this after, it doesn't matter. Just ask them when you think of them, all right? That's fine. And that's it. We are 10:52. If there's no more questions, thanks for the information. Thanks for the call. It's been great. All right, these are some of the comments coming through. Great ideas. All right, good. I'm glad everybody's re-inspired or inspired and ready to take action. Off you go. Get your system in place and get ready for Module 3. Module 3 will be coming out on Sunday. All right, people, have a great weekend. We're off to the show this weekend. Hoping, if you're in Perth, of course, this is for people in Perth, we're off to the Royal Show. I've just spent a fortune at the Royal Show. Hopefully you will, if you see me, say hello. All right. Till then, take good care. Bye-bye.